What's up? So today, continuing my sessions, my discussions with all the homies, just to chat about Black Lives Matter and what's going on in the world. I have a very special guest tonight. I don't know. The lady I'm interviewing tonight, she was actually alive during segregation and during the time of Martin Luther King. Ah, here she is. Cheryl, so at the bottom, you'll see a purple button and it says request to be in my video. You know where the comments are, where Origin Hip Hop is? Just press that and it'll send a request. Yeah, so I met Cheryl, here we go. Awesome. Sorry guys, we're just waiting. What's up, Richter? There
Hey,
you are,
I'm
mama.
here. I did it.
You
Hey,
made it.
high tech now.
You
How you
know,
doing?
you know. Nice to
Hey,
see you. Thank you for
nice to see
joining
you
me.
too. Thank you for having me.
Of course, of course. So let me just do a quick intro of how we met.
Okay.
So I met Mama Cheryl. She's the owner of Origin Studio. And when Donald Trump first became president, we were having a conversation with the kids. And we knew, Mama Cheryl, we knew,
We
right?
knew. Isn't that crazy? How we just knew? That is insane. That is insane.
Yes.
And I remember the things that we were saying to the kids. One thing that stuck out in my mind is because the kids were upset too, and they really didn't know how to process it. And I told them, I said, the great thing about you guys is when the next election comes around, you will be old enough to vote. Here it is. And a lot of them were seniors now, and they didn't get the opportunity to get their grad year the way they wanted it to happen. And now they have the power to
Yes.
vote, so it's just, I don't know where those 4 years went,
I
but
know it went so fast.
it went really
And
fast.
the thing I wanted to ask you, I know we'll go over it when you're talking about the history, but is it worse now than what you saw before?
Well, see, for me, I'm what you call one of the babies of the baby boom. Baby boom started in 1946, and I wasn't born until 1960. So baby boom was 1946 to 1964. So my husband and I, we're the babies of the baby boom. We're the end section of that, where a lot of the stuff we witnessed as children. So it's hard for me to say whether it was worse or better, but we looked at it from the eyes of children, which, that's what parents need to really think about right now. Never underestimate that this is not affecting your kids. I don't care how old they are. I was 3 years old when John F. Kennedy was assassinated.
Oh, wow.
And I remember the sadness. I can remember those feelings of everybody around me just being really sad. And I knew something bad had happened. I didn't have a really clear understanding of death, but I knew it was something that really bad had happened. So I remember feeling that. That's 3 years old. I was 8 years old, just about my 8th birthday when Martin Luther King was assassinated. And I remember sitting in my classroom and everybody's parents started to come pick them up one at a time. So now I'm 7 years old. I pretty much know something's wrong. I've heard about Dr. King. I know who he is. And I just waited at my desk for my mom to come pick me up because I knew she was coming. And all the kids, one by one, got picked up. And you could see the angst in the parents' face. You could see the worry. You could see the sadness in their faces. And when I got picked up, I remember walking through the hallways and the older children. I was in 2nd grade at the time, and I remember the older children, the 8th graders and 7th graders, just bawling and just so sad and just so upset. And then I remember going home and sitting in front of the TV and just watching that whole thing play out of sadness and being upset. And, like, I have older siblings that, were really a part of all of that. I've had my older siblings and cousins they were either Black Panthers or
Wow.
Blackstone Rangers, and they were 16, 17, 18 years old. but they were really a big part of the movement because of their age, because of how old they were. My parents were well into their 30s, close to 40s at that time, so they were less active, but it was the younger people. So that's what people have to understand, that the civil rights movement was ran by young people. All that was called the Children's Crusade, where parents were afraid to go out and march because they thought that they would lose their jobs and things like that. So they would send the kids. And all the pictures that you see with the hoses and the dogs and all that, those were anywhere between elementary school and high school kids, maybe college. Those were all young kids. So they were a part of the movement, and I still didn't really understand what they were going through and what they were dealing with. I knew it was something bad until my mother started to order these encyclopedias, and I would get one once a month, and they were all in chronological order based on the year. And I just started reading from about 8 years old on. She got that encyclopedia would come once a month for about a good 7 or 8 years. And I started to read exactly what was happening and what was going wrong and why everybody was so sad, and why I didn't understand why people felt that I was less than because I was Black, but I did understand that there was a difference, that there was something wrong. But I started reading horrific stories about Emmett Till and the 4 little girls of the 16th Street church bombing. So I knew my history, and I knew it was some really horrible things that were going on. If I had to compare it, I would say it was probably worse back then because the rights weren't legal. You know, everything that people did back then was legal. You know, you could beat Black people, you could lynch them, you could. It was nothing that said that you couldn't do it. So it was probably worse back then because the rights weren't there, and the right to vote didn't even come until after the 16th Street church bombing, when the 4 little girls were blown to bits, and then the right to vote came. If I had to compare now and then, I would compare George Floyd's death to that of Emmett Till, because we actually saw him killed live on TV with no remorse, with impunity given to the police, and we watched that, and that's why everybody is feeling so bad about it. That's why everybody's so hurt, because we actually watched it. And for Emmett Till, when he was murdered legally and the murderers got off, his mother refused to close the casket. He went down south and he was visiting relatives, and he was murdered, and they pretty much mutilated his body. So when the body was transferred from Mississippi back to Chicago, my hometown, Chicago, his mother refused to have a closed casket. She wanted to see what she literally said, I want the world to see what they did to my baby.
Yeah, and it was powerful because he was a boy. He was a young boy.
He was only 14 years old at the time. So I compare that because we actually saw what happened last week with George Floyd. And Mamie Till back then in 1950, she made the world see what happened, and that's when a lot of changes started to come. And again, now there's a lot of changes that are starting to come, because I've never seen this much support from people saying, wait a minute, this is wrong. I've never seen this much support. But a lot of stuff I saw as a child, but I do remember, and I remember stories and the storytelling from my mother and my grandmother and my sisters and my siblings, you know, that were all teenagers at the time, in the middle of it. And I'm just this kid just watching. So parents, and what I would say to them, don't think your kids are not watching. Talk to them about it, because they feel it. I have people telling me their pets are acting funny. So you know, if your dog is acting funny, you know your kids feel it too. If your pets feel it, then your kids feel it too. So it's just a paradigm shift right now.
Wow, and that's a good point.
It is. It's a paradigm shift. It's like enough is enough. We're getting support from all over the world. It's a beautiful thing. And all I can say is focus on the young people. And when I say young people, I mean 25 and under, 30 and under. They have the power now. If they get that vote in that age demographic, then we might have a shot at this.
Ooh, that's powerful. Yes. I did have a question also from a younger friend who was saying that right now it feels like there's no leadership, right? Like when we went to school, we had history books. They taught us about Martin Luther King. They taught about Malcolm X and Rosa Parks. Did it feel like that to you when you were little? Did it feel like a bunch of small movements or one person leading everything?
It felt like a couple people, because we had Martin Luther King, we had Malcolm X, we had Medgar Evers, we had people who weren't that much in the spotlight. We had our Rosa Parks and people who were just doing little things. Right now, we don't have it because a lot of those people who were a part of those movements now, they're older now. They're well into their 70s, they're well into their 80s, and there hasn't been that passing of the torch yet to that next generation of folks that are going to take the lead on this. That's why I say the focus has to be the kids now, because it's their world. You know, Donald Trump is mid-70s. You know, you know, that's the mindset that he's in. And our Jesse Jacksons and Louis Farrakhan's and Sharptons, they're old men now. You know, they can tell us from their point of view what happened then, but it's a new generation. And it wasn't a coincidence that the kids, when they didn't get their graduation time, it wasn't a coincidence that they reached back to Obama and said, you know, we need what do we do?
Yeah.
You know, because they can't relate to Trump.
Mm-hmm.
They can't relate to him at all.
Mm-hmm.
So they could relate to Obama. And I remember the kid who really started that off, he said, we really want you to come and do our graduation speech. He said, it would give us great comfort.
Mm-hmm.
Listen to those words. It would give us great comfort if you would do it. Because Obama's 56, 57 years old. He's still a relatively young man. That's my age bracket, the babies of the baby boomers. And he's going to have to be that one, him and Michelle and, you know, all those people that are in that age bracket to pass it on. We don't know who the next leaders are going to be. Because unfortunately, the reason why all of this is happening is because there is no leadership at all, period. Donald Trump is a demagogue. All he wants to do is push his own agenda to continue to divide. And the reason for his division is to try to get our focus off of the fact that he is inept. He shouldn't be in office.
Yeah, exactly. We're all in agreement about that for sure. So what are your thoughts? Like right now, the media is pushing the narrative of rioting and looting, and what does that break your heart, or are you for it? Well, what do you think?
There's always collateral damage, you know, and Martin Luther King said himself, you know, riots are the voice of the unheard. People feel like they are not being heard. It's just like a child that has a temper tantrum. When you feel like you haven't been heard, then you feel like time after time after time this has happened. We just had a month ago with what's his name, Ahmaud Arbery. This young man, we just had that happen. You know, so after a while, with it being so blatant, you right there. No remorse, not even thinking about, oh, they're filming me. You know, stuff like that doesn't happen unless it's sanctioned. You know, nobody gets that level of boldness unless it's sanctioned. And some people, there's one thing about Trump followers, I will say, they're going to follow him regardless, whatever he does. Whatever he does. And they will sacrifice themselves. If I got to be that one that takes one for the team, I'm going to take one for the team, because this man had absolutely, positively no remorse, because he felt that he was going to get impunity. He felt that he was going to get
away with it. Yeah.
Look at, you look at his face. You got your hands in your pocket.
Oh, he meant to do it. He meant to.
So all that kind of stuff is sanctioned. So as far as the next leadership, I would like to see Obama and Michelle and younger people. I'm not, Joe, I love you. Joe, you still old. You're an old man. You kick it with Obama, and that's cool, but you still, and you try to relate, but you're still an old man. It's time for that next generation to step up.
Yes, I
So I
agree.
don't know. We don't have any leadership right now. So for people like me and, you know, people that are in their 50s or 40s and up, the best thing that we can do is talk to these kids. And they're going to have to be the ones that step up. I don't know how we're going to get through this. It's hard to say. It's hard to say. If I would assume that Biden would do better, at least for the people, have some kind of compassion, because, you know, the administration right now doesn't have any compassion. They don't care. Evil doesn't have compassion. So don't expect it. So I don't know. I
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah, me too. Me too. I feel you on that. And then also, I guess right now it's just hard to really watch at the same time what's going on, you know? How are you staying positive? How are you keeping your peace about everything?
Because I know, I'm getting to be up in age. You know, I'll be celebrating a milestone this year too. I'm 59. I'll be 60. I don't feel it. I'll be 60 in October. And I know this too shall pass. You know, there will be some collateral damage. There will be some things that, we just gonna have to deal with. And, people need to, if they have a higher power, if they want to go to church, if they need to talk to their therapist, if they have sessions like you're having where people get together and just talk, and, communities come together just to support each other through this, then that's the only thing I can suggest. But the main thing is they're gonna have to get in these kids' head. It's the next generation that's gonna have to start stepping up and realize that they're not babies anymore. It's their world. They're next in line, and they're gonna have to be a part of it, because I feel like kids nowadays, they don't understand racism. It doesn't compute to them. And I don't
Really?
care. I don't even think that it computes to them, even if their parents are racist. They're
Really?
smarter. They're smarter because they've had an opportunity to grow up in social media and meet kids from all over the world, and go to things like Body Rock and Hip Hop International and meet people from all over. So they look at racism like, what do you mean you're better than me because of the color of your skin? Or I'm not better than you because of the color of my skin. Then they'll go scientific with you. Well, DNA says that this and that. That doesn't even compute to me. So it's not even logical for them to think that way. So with them not being able to relate to it, I think it'll be a better day. But that we just got to get through this, and all the other crazy people just got to die off and take that evil with them.
Yes.
And it is what it is. But I had an interesting thing that happened with my daughter Destiny. Darius just turned 30, and Destiny is 28. She'll be 29, and she said, "Mom, sometimes she talks to me like a little baby." And she talks to myself and my husband, and she says, "Mommy, is he gonna win again?" And I'm like, I don't know, Des. You guys got to vote. And she's very pro youth and things like that. And she said, I want to post something on my Facebook page, but I'm afraid. Because she has a studio in New York, and she's around a lot of conservatives, and she was afraid that they would target her business if she said this. I said, what do you want to post? She said, I want to post something. I said, what do you want to post? And she said, I want to post, dear 18-year-olds, Trump took your grad year. Trump stole your grad year. Now you steal his second term. And I said, I'll post it. I ain't scared of nobody. I'll post it. And she said, you sure, Mom? Because it's going to get some backlash. I said, it's a cute little post. I'll post it. Girl, I posted that, and it ended up with 50,000 shares. I ain't never had nothing go wrong. 50,000 shares, a billion likes and responses, and a lot of them weren't good. I got a lot of inboxes calling me all kinds of names, saying all death threats. I got death threats. Can you believe that?
Are you serious?
Death threats.
Wow.
And but it was mainly because I empowered the kids. And I said, "Oh, Des, I see why you didn't want to post that." And she's like, "Why you went viral?" And I started blocking people and stuff. And she's like, "No, keep it on." So at first I was really frightened at first, really scared.
Mm-hmm.
And then I calmed down. I'm like, I ain't scared of them people. They don't know where I live. And if they do, I got something hot for them. So whatever. So I kept it on there. And right now it's, close to 50,000 shares. And people are like, right, for real? That my kid can vote. That's right. It's like
Mm-hmm.
a light bulb went
Mm-hmm.
off
Mm-hmm.
that parents can empower their kids, and kids between 18 and 21, it was like, oh yeah, that's right, I get to go to the polls. And some people were like, they're still playing video games. What are they trying to vote for? You got it misunderstood. It's legal. They can vote, and they can vote you out. So that's my focus right now, is to empower 30 and under.
Yeah.
Get to those polls, because it's your world.
Yeah.
That's the ones we're going to take it
Well,
over.
what's crazy too is now with freaking coronavirus, right? That's an issue. Like people are saying, well, how are we going to vote? And some governors are actually trying to do mail-in votes. But then Trump is saying he's trying to just like dismiss that and going, no, mail-in votes don't work. People are going to cheat,
Well,
right?
that's again a part of his way, because he's running a little scared right now. It's a part of his way to try to suppress the vote. And he really can't, because a lot of the governors are, they're kind of standing their ground. They're like,
Yeah.
I'm not thinking about you. We're going to mail in. There's no evidence. There's nothing that shows that mail-in vote has ever had any, impact on the election, or anything shady, or anybody cheating or anything like that. There's never been any evidence of that. So yeah, we're going to still do the mail-in vote. But the goal is, what I'm worried about is the people that say, well, I'm not voting for anybody.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We have to make that argument that your vote really matters, because if it didn't matter, people wouldn't do so much to try to suppress it.
Mm-hmm.
It's simple as that. Your vote very much matters. So they're gonna try to cheat either way. So he's gonna try to come up with something. But I would like to see some sort of youth voter
Movement.
drive,
Yeah.
where you get the young people to come out in droves to register to vote, get them to the polls. I was lucky enough to watch. Darius was 18 when Obama was voted in. And I remember sitting, he was in school up in Northridge at the time. And I remember sitting at home in San Diego, and it was, myself, my husband, and Destiny, and we were just, like, is Darius going to the polls? Is he going to the polls? And we were trying to call him. Did you go to vote? Did you go to vote? And the next day after Obama had won, and I called Darius, I said, did you vote? He was like, Mom, I was walking in the rain. It was pouring down raining, and I didn't know which direction to go to the polls, but I kept walking, and I saw this crowd of cars, and they saw me, and they picked me up, and I jumped in the car with them. And they were just other college students, and they took me to the polls, and then I got there, and I wasn't registered, and they got me in as a write-in. So yes, I did. He did everything in his power to make sure that he got to those polls. And that was powerful, and that's what's going to have to happen now. You have to get these kids to the polls. That I can't stress that enough. It's the young folks that have to get out there.
Yeah, well, we get that message loud and clear. We will pass that on. And another thing that I love about you, you're so nurturing, right? Even your studio, those kids like feel like a big family, even though they're a bunch of white kids, right?
Yeah.
You have a studio in La Mesa, a bunch of white kids. And I'm wondering how, I don't even know if they've responded to you like this, but I've had tons of friends post like, why are you posting all Black Lives Matter? It's all lives matter. I'm wondering if you ever had that kind of a response, and how did you handle that?
Oh, from the day we opened our doors. I didn't put a sign on my door saying, white kids only, or, Black kids can't come, or nothing. It was just the people that were interested in coming to the studio at the time. Mm-hmm. And, at the end of the day, regardless of whatever, I love everybody, but I'm a businesswoman. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And if their parents wanted to pay for them to learn how to dance, hey, green trumps everything. So I still love all my kids, and my background is early childhood development from the time I was in Chicago. That's my undergrad, early childhood development. I worked in child development programs. I worked in all kinds of after school programming and visual and performing arts programs with kids from all different backgrounds. So I was used to that. Mm. Darius and Destiny grew up in La Mesa. So a lot of times they were the minority. They didn't grow up around a bunch of black kids. They grew up in a diverse environment, and that's what I wanted for them. I grew up in Chicago. There was black kids. I might have had one or two white kids that were at the church that I went to. You know, we went to a diverse, very diverse church, but once we moved into the neighborhood, you could see the white flight. You know, people started moving once, you know, we were one of the first black families to move in our neighborhood in Chicago, and then there was a lot of white flight. So I didn't have a whole lot of experience with different ethnicities and cultures and stuff like that. But as I started working and going into the workforce, I had more. And I was always around, you know, not only just kids from different backgrounds and colors, but socioeconomic backgrounds. We had rich kids, we had poor kids, we had kids with disabilities. We had a bunch of different kids. So opening up the Origin, I used to get a lot of flack. Like, why are you teaching all my white kids hip hop? Because they want to learn. They want to know how, you know, and it wasn't, you know, I got thick skin. You know, I'm from the South Side of Chicago. You know, it really didn't matter to me what you said, because I was going to treat all the kids the same way, whether they were white, whether they were black, whether they were Latino, whether they were Asian. They were all kids that had the one thing in common. So that's, you can't look at the differences. You have to look at the commonalities, and the commonalities is that they wanted to dance. So once they got to Origin, the nurturing part of it came from, because first of all, you know, I got teenagers of my own. So they're the draw, they're the carrot. Like, come on, you know, let's dance with my mom. We have the studio over there. We're renting from different studios, and come on and dance. So my kids didn't understand that it wasn't cool to hang with mom, because I was just that cool mom. And after a while, I, you know, became the teenage police. I would see stuff that people's kids would see that they didn't even know they were doing. And I would have to say, if you keep doing them, tell your mama, because I always knew. So I never turned anybody away, and I've never made anybody feel less than, but all the time, to this day, I get that, you know, why? You know, you should be doing more for the black community. You should be doing more for kids over here. But I raised my kids in La Mesa. That's where I live. So it just happened to be in a little less diverse neighborhood. And then, like I said, I'm not from San Diego. I'm from Chicago. So there were a lot of things that happened in East County before I got here, as far as El Cajon, La Mesa, Santee. It had a long history of racism, where people from different parts of San Diego felt like they would not be caught dead in East County, even though it's 25 years later. Because that's that, you know, that long time hurt of what happened when I came over here in 1986 and I got chased back over to Southeast or whatever. So there was that, you know, mixed feelings about even coming to East County. And I'm like, well, what happened? I wasn't here. I'm like, oh, okay, I get it. So I understood. But all the time that happened. But kids that come to Origin, they come and they stay. So they pretty much grow up at the Origin. They come at 7 and they age out at 18, and then they're teaching. You know, they might be our staff at that point. So they grow up at Origin, and I've always been, because of the child development background, I understand kids more than teachers understand kids, because teachers are taught to teach. I know about kids. I understand each developmental stage, what they'll do. It won't be a surprise to me. So I know what they'll do next. I know what's coming. I know what is age appropriate or what's not appropriate for them to do. So they may do something silly. One of the biggest things we deal with at Origin is teen dating. And it's like, if I take off my wig, you'll see all the gray hair from the teen dating, you know, angst that we go through. But it's just that mama thing that just came out with time. I was a mother when I started it, and it just kind of bled over into all the other kids. But, you know, that's what I try, because I want kids to feel like Origin is home, and that they don't have to worry about their color or their race or, you know, their disability or whatever the case may be, their socioeconomic background. When you come to Origin, you coming home. You can, but I'm gonna get in your ass too. You know, I'm just that person. And then a lot of the parents are a lot younger than me too, so they're looking at me for parental advice. So and so is doing this now, and I can tell them from a professional point of view, and as well as from a personal point of view as a mom, because it's been many kids in my life. I started this when I was 13 years old, working with kids, and in Calumet Park and in the South Side of Chicago, working at different places. So the origin wasn't new as far as working with kids. I worked with kids before Darius and Destiny were even born.
Nice.
So it was just who I was.
Yeah. And for those of you tuning in, if you want to leave Mama Cheryl a question, go ahead and drop it down there in the comments or put a question card and I'll ask her as we're going on. So have they been supportive to you, like the parents and the families, with what's going on?
Very much. We've been doing online classes. A lot of our families are struggling. We've struggled. So, we do as many online classes as we possibly can to keep the kids moving, to keep, them not being depressed and stuff like that. So, we work with the parents financially and, trying to really make the decision as to when we actually want to physically open up. We want to do that slowly because we don't want to get anybody sick. And then we have to deal with, is it safe now, not just health-wise, but with everything that's going on in the world. We want to make sure that we can take the kids somewhere and people are really being safe and it's okay. We don't have to worry about anybody getting hurt or shot at or stuff like that. So it's a lot. It's a lot to consider. But again, we've been very supportive of each other.
Good.
And it's worked out. It's really good.
That's good to hear. It's a good relationship. Yeah. And then I guess surrounding, going back to the discussion of what's going on with today and the protests and everything, it's been kind of hard for other people that are not Black to support their friends and kind of have this discussion, right? Maybe it feels kind of clumsy to have this dialogue. What would you say to people that are not Black, that are not African American, but want to show some kind of support? How could they come alongside you guys and just be good friends and show support?
Well, just, racism has an odd way of showing its head when, people don't see. When they're not looking, people may say certain things, but the people who are real about it, the people who are truly concerned about what's going on, a lot of people have reached out to me. I've been bawling with some of the things that I have seen that people have posted, have inboxed me, and they just been genuine. They just have been keeping it real, and they're not awkward about it. They just, I've had the phone calls and they, what can I do? And I just say to people, keep it real, because it's really not just about me as a Black person. It's about the world you want to live in. Because right now, it's a lot of biracial folks out here that, they're dating outside their race, they're interacting with other people. It's the type of world that you want to live in. So you saw what happened on that tape when they taped the man doing what he did. You don't have to be Black to feel that. That's why it's such a outpour of support right now, because you don't have to be Black to feel that. You could be purple with spots to feel that. That was ugly. We literally watched the murder like right there in our faces. So anybody that has that kind of compassion won't find it awkward coming to you and saying, that was messed up, and they, it's like what they'll do is they'll stand in solidarity with you regardless and speak up and say, they don't have to come out and say, well, I'm not like that.
Yeah.
I'm white, but I'm not like, no, they just have to say that was screwed up. That was messed up. That was horrible. I'm not standing for it. I'm not taking it anymore. This is one of those things where pretty much a line has been drawn in the sand. Either you for that kind of garbage or you're not. You can't straddle the fence no more. This is not fence straddling time. You got to pick a side right now. And if you with that kind of activity, then we're not with you. Period.
Yeah, for sure. And it's to me surprising because I keep still seeing people asking, why don't all lives matter? Like they don't get that message that, yeah, we're trying to say all lives matter, but the Black lives are the ones that are not mattering right now. That's why
And
we're saying Black Lives Matter.
that's that little part of denial, that little space in your heart. As much as you might say I'm not racist, well, you are. If you can't see that, if you can't see that, if something in your head is not connecting where you can't see that, then there's a little part of you that really does not have compassion for it. And then you got to ask yourself, why can't I have compassion for it? It's not happening to your son. If you're a mother and you see somebody's child murdered in the street, you're not upset about it because he's a certain color. You're upset about it because you're a mother. If you're a human being, then you're upset about that.
Mm-hmm.
If you hold basic human decency, then you're upset about that.
Mm-hmm.
That's just the bottom line to it.
Yep.
If you have basic human decency, then you're upset about that. And you're going to take a stance, and you're going to speak out, and you're going to, don't be phony about it. I don't need this outpouring of people, all of a sudden they're going to come to the studio and support Origin and spend their money just because don't do that, because I'm going to get mad regardless. But just stand up and say, this is wrong. And I'm going to be a part of the solution of correcting this. That's all you got to say. Mm-hmm. You don't owe me that. You owe your own children that. You owe the world that.
Mm-hmm.
Period.
Yes. Well said. 100 with it. And I think I caught something that you said too. You had mentioned that there's probably a little bit part of you that's racist if you can't hear that, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like that's probably hard to hear for them because they had learned that way of thinking. They had learned that behavior from when they were a little child, like
they could have
grew up with it. Yeah.
They could have. They could have.
What did your parents teach you at a young age, about how to be in the world while all this civil rights and everything was happening? Did they ever say anything to you?
I heard a lot from my parents. I heard a lot from my grandparents. And how I learned is just learning the history of what happened back in the day, learning the history from slavery on, being aware of what they weren't teaching us. And they're still not teaching as much as they should, what they weren't teaching us in the history books when I was in school, that my parents made sure that I knew who I was and I knew where I came from. And they made sure that I knew that I did not immigrate over here. I was exported. They made me understand that I came from another place. They made me understand my roots. That's why that series Roots was so powerful, because a lot of people didn't know. They made me understand where I was from and who I was. And I passed that on to my kids, just the encyclopedias and the conversations. And this is what happened, and talking about Emmett Till, and, talking about the 4 little girls, and talking about the Mississippi 3, talking about Rosa Parks, talking about all that stuff. And then discovering on my own just how much Black people have contributed to building this country. So they didn't come out and say, like I have to say to Darius and Destiny, they didn't come out and tell me, you need to be careful. They're going to stop you. They're going to do this. They're going to do that. They didn't come out and tell me that in that way, the way we have to talk to our kids now, because they come from a different world. And we might have been a little bit more sheltered than my kids were. So they didn't feel like they had to, because I wasn't going too far from the nest. But one of the biggest influences of what I should do as far as being a Black woman out here came from a teacher, and he was white. I was in 7th grade. His name was Mr. Casey. And he was a young man. I'm pretty sure that man wasn't even 30 years old at the time. And I used to wonder why all the Black kids in the classroom, he would not allow us to get B's. We could not have B's. And he would pull us to the side and he would reprimand us. Why do you have a B? Why do you have a B? And we thought he was being racist till it clicked in my head. He said, you have to be better. You can't have a B-. You have to have an A+. Because of the color of your skin. You're going to have to fight harder.
Damn.
And he told me that, and this didn't come from a Black man, this came from a white man. And he told me, and he was young and he understood racism, And he was not easy on us as Black children in his classroom. He made us understand that we needed to work harder. That was the most powerful thing that I had gotten from an adult, even maybe more than my parents. My sisters and my cousins, they were a stronger influence because they were radical. They were the Black Panthers. They were the Blackstone Rangers. They were the Black Gangster Disciples. They were the ones I watched. The Blackstone Rangers and the Black Gangster Disciples, two rival gangs in Chicago, come together and have a truce.
Wow.
Around the time of Martin Luther King's death. You know, I watched all of that kind of stuff. So they taught me how to have that Malcolm X part of me. I had that Martin Luther King part of me where it was the, you know, peace and love and da-da-da-da. And then I had that Malcolm side of me, by any means necessary. They taught me that I wasn't a doormat. And I've had some stuff happen to me over the years. You know, I worked at a job a few years back. I was a supervisor at a job. I'm not going to say their name. I should bust them out, but I'm going to leave it alone. I'm going to be nice. And they posted a picture of a monkey outside my door. They posted a picture of a monkey outside my office door because crazy. They hated me so bad. And I always thought that I had a thick skin. I always thought, I was like, you know, he's racist. I didn't even tell my family till 6 months later that had happened, when I ended up putting a lawsuit into that job. And my husband was like, why didn't you tell me? I said, because I was in such shock and I really felt ashamed. That was one time that I really felt ashamed. I was well into my 50s at that time. And I walked up and there was a picture of a monkey outside my door. And they had the little caption when I knew it was directed toward me. And I let that picture stay up there for about 3 days before I even brought it to my supervisor, because I just knew I was in such denial that it didn't even pertain to me.
Damn.
But yeah, sure, it does pertain to you. And then, you know, it was a big thing about it and everything like that. So I've had, you know, just being Black, being a woman, being a business owner, you know, all of that just, you know, triple.
Yeah, I'm trying to wrap my mind around that, like to have to feel ashamed, to have to kind of be in denial about it, and then have to pull yourself together and confront it, right? You confront.
It's difficult. It's difficult, but you know, I find my strength from my work. You know, I find my strength from working with the kids, working with Origin, working with my own kids when I see what Darius and Destiny have accomplished, and I know they're gonna, you know, take things to another level further than I did. When I'm able to tell people like you the real, that empowers me to be able to empower you. So, you know, that's the same way that my parents and my cousins and my siblings empowered me by giving me the knowledge. You have to just pass it on, because knowledge is power. You cannot be out here and not tell your kids about the truth, about what really this world is about and what they have to be up against. That's why Mr. Casey told me when I was in 7th grade, you got to be better. And I've done that all my life. Went back to school, got my bachelor's degree, got 2 master's degrees, thought about getting my PhD, you know, opened up my own business. I spent my life trying to thrive. And right now, Mr. Cheryl, are you headed toward retirement, even though I should be? No, I got another few years in me, because I still got people watching me. My son's 30, my daughter's 28, and they still, you know, they're still watching me. And as long as people are still watching me do better and thrive, that's how I get around all the hatred and all the racism and stuff like that, because I know I'm a force.
Yes. Oh, yes.
I know
yes.
I'm a force.
And this is a familiar message. Yesterday, I was talking with KB of the Jabberwockies, and he said success is the best revenge. So he kind of had a similar story, similar narrative.
And it comes with this price. You know, I faced a whole lot of stuff. I faced health issues. I faced homelessness, you know, financial issues with the studio. You know how that is. I faced a lot of sicknesses. I lost my sister 1 year after the studio opened in 2011. She passed away after being diagnosed with cancer. 30 days. We lost her within 30 days. Wow. My father passed away in 2014. But he was 92 years old. So, you know, I could accept that. But I lost my sister at 46 years old. She was only 46 years old. We found out she had cancer March 1st. She was dead March 30th. So we've had our obstacles. Things have happened. But
Yeah.
we've had some wonderful experiences too. That's what life is all about. It's a balance. You're going to have some good times. You're going to have some bad times. But the key is you're going to have to persevere. But the most important thing, and like I said, I cannot, harp on this. I have the kids.
Yeah.
Gotta get it in their heads. The Children's Crusades of the Civil Rights Movement for children. And those are going to look at the people who are marching now.
It's young people.
It's
Yeah.
young people. And not just black kids.
Mm-hmm.
White kids, Asian kids, Mexican kids. I'm
Mm-hmm.
looking at it, I'm loving it.
Mm-hmm.
Because like
Mm-hmm.
I said, they don't get it. They don't understand what they saw on that TV. They don't like,
Yeah.
what? No.
And they're the ones sharing with me too. They're telling me to put on social media. They're telling me to put stuff like memes and whatever. This is like their newspaper now, and this is where they're active.
Exactly. Exactly. And like I said, this is the day that the line is drawn in the sand. You can't straddle the fence. Either you're going to continue to put up with this garbage or you're not. Because ain't nobody going to keep letting you come into our communities and kill our kids and we're not going to do nothing about it. That's not going to keep happening. The next time we have a Chauvin or whatever that man's name is, and he has his neck on, somebody has somebody's knee on somebody's neck, you're not going to get away with that. Nobody's going to stand around and watch that anymore.
Yeah.
And there may be blood, but in war there is bloodshed. After a while, we are not going to let you continue to come into our neighborhoods and kill our kids. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
And that's the Malcolm X part of me talking. By any means necessary, because who are you to do that? Because you think you better because you have you don't have the much melanin in your skin as I do. It just can't happen anymore. So people have to, that's where you're going to find, you said, how can people talk to you? Some people are going to be completely silent and they're not going to do anything. And then you're going to know.
Yeah.
And
I've been hearing that.
And some people are going to step up. Some people will riot. Some people will loot. Some people will find other ways. Some people will, let's sit down, let's talk about this. Let's go come up with another strategy. But you have to do something. You cannot, this is no time for complacency. Everybody has to do something right now. And
yes,
that's how you learn.
I agree. And I also worry when I watch, I guess, some of the protests have been sabotaged, There's a pile of bricks laying in places. There's like white supremacist activists or whatever spray painting BLM. And that I think it was some black lady was filming it. She was like, "You're not part of our group. Why are you doing that?" You know? So it's almost like another agenda. Something else is going on.
It is.
What do you think?
That's the spirit of division in our administration. That's that spirit of division of trying to continue to divide, to create that smoke screen of you shouldn't be in office. The gaslighting, and at some point, people are going to have to calm down, come in the house, sit down and talk to their families. People going to have to group up and come up with different strategies, like the youth voter registration drives and stuff like that, figuring out a way to get our seniors out to vote, making sure that mail-in vote is not sabotaged. Those are the kind of things, because people going to act stupid. They're going to, you have to start figuring out, okay, now these bricks are here, we see what you're doing, so after a while, people going to have to kind of just calm down, still realize there is a virus out here, so we got to come in, but people are going to have to start using their brains now and really thinking of things to do to get this dude out of office, the bottom line.
I know.
That's really the bottom line.
We're there.
Figure out how to get him out of office. Just, and I'm not trying to push no political agenda right now. Vote blue. But anyway.
If you guys agree, or if you have suggestions, leave them in the comments. If you have a question, you want to follow up with a question, ask Cheryl something, go ahead and leave them down there. I've seen people like Lisa and Light and Luck just agreeing with everything, some comments that you've been saying. But yeah, if you agree with us or just comment, just give us some feedback. Let us know if you're still out there.
Sure.
Thank you, Mama Cheryl.
You're welcome. But yeah, people just gonna have to start thinking and really figuring out, what's the next step. And for me, I would like to see a strong youth voter registration drive to get these kids out of house and some more support for the seniors. And programs that really enlighten people on the importance of voting, because a lot of people don't vote because they don't know.
Yeah, a lot of my friends, my dancer friends are like, oh, why do that? It's not going to matter. Like, I'm like, are you crazy? You need to get this guy out, like,
Yeah.
yeah.
And the way you let them know that it matters is that anything that somebody tries to keep you from, you have to know is important. The reason why they suppress your right to vote is because they know how important it really is. And then for me, I know that my ancestors died trying to get the right to vote. I can't dishonor them by not going out there and voting. Even when they were given the right to vote, they had different little things that tried to prevent it. Okay, if you weren't born here, then you can't vote. Okay, well, I was born in Africa, so that's another X. If you can't read the first part of the Constitution, you can't vote. Well, you didn't teach me to read. Slaves weren't allowed to read, so X, I'm X'd out again. So there was all these little things that they would do to prevent you from having that voice. So that was enough for me to say, anytime somebody said I can't do something, it must really be important.
It means something. Mm-hmm.
It means something. And that's the conversation that you need to have with them. And they just have to learn. They have to study. And again, like I said, I won't dishonor. Yeah, I can't. I'm going to vote regardless, because I knew my grandmother and my great-grandmother and my great-grandfather, they couldn't, or they had a hard time doing it. So just because they shed blood for me to do it, I don't care if I don't like Trump. I don't care if I don't like Biden. I'm going.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going. Because if it wasn't for them, Cheryl wouldn't have a degrees and my own business and the ability to go and vote. And, so I have to go just to honor their struggle.
Yeah, I think that's key right there, as I think that people don't know. I think along the way, we've just taken it for granted.
Mm-hmm.
And you have said over and over, I had encyclopedias, my grandmother told me, like you just had a bunch of information passed down to you,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I remember the just vaguely the black and the colored water fountains and the all white water fountains. And I remember my siblings telling me about that. I remember them fighting. I remember them telling me. I remember them pulling me out of the bed and making me dance. Just make you dancing. You getting up, you dancing. And I was the practice dummy. They would get me out of the bed so that they could practice on me before they went to the sock hops. So everything that they passed down to me, I try to pass down to Darius and Destiny. Darius and Destiny are a plethora of information that they're going to pass down to my grandkids if I ever get any. Or they still pass them down to the kids. I'm not rushing y'all, Darius and Destiny, but anyway, they're still passing it down to the kids that they teach. A lot of kids from Origin have come up under Darius now. They don't relate to me no more. I'm just the lady sit behind the desk. I'm just Miss Cheryl. Hey, Miss Cheryl, but then they're flocking to Darius and flocking to Destiny for that information because they're young people, and they're closer to their age to be able to relate to them. So that's what you got to do. You have to keep these kids informed, and you have to empower them and let them know you're more than just out there playing Fortnite and video games. You've graduated. You have hit those milestones. You didn't get a chance to go to prom. You didn't get a chance to do your graduation. All these things that you didn't get an opportunity to do, that you should have gotten an opportunity to do, you didn't, and you should have. That should mean something towards your vote.
Yes.
I had, this is supposed to be Origin's 10th anniversary. We can't do what we wanted to do, so we're going to switch it up and do other things, but that's a disappointment to us as Origin. But I can imagine how these kids felt all this time, all these years that they've waited for prom night and grad night and walking and graduation and, all of that taken away. And people should not underestimate that. That was huge. So when you do your homework, you say, well, why did that happen? You have to ask yourself, Now, as an adult going off into the world, you have to ask yourself, why did that happen? You know, why couldn't we? Why were we in quarantine at that time? And do your research as to why.
Mm.
You didn't have to be in quarantine.
Mm-hmm.
Had the powers that be had a better response to this virus that they knew was coming. They knew it was coming.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, I'm not going to get out, you know, like I'm not going to get you. But you still have a right as going into the world. Saving for college. You can't go to school now. You know, you got to do school online. Who doesn't want to have their first Trump party and go away, you know, to their dorm for the first time and stuff? That's a part of growth. That's a part of life. That's a part of moving forward. This, for me, has always been kids anywhere between 18 and 21. That's prom and graduation that's better than Christmas for me when I watch these kids do that, because I remember what it was for me. That's that time where you're out of mama's house and you're making decisions for yourself, but you're still having a lot of fun, and you're still making those decisions as to who you're going to be in this world, and you know what you're going to do with your life, and nobody can tell you. You know, you could make that own decision, and you know people are celebrating you doing that. You can't take that away from that. That was a tragedy that they had that taken away from them. I was so upset I didn't get to see prom pictures of the kids coming out and having on their different outfits. I look forward to that. So if I look forward to it, how do you think they felt?
Yeah, it was very disappointing. I missed my graduation too. I really
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah,
man,
yes.
there's no one gonna make a commencement speech. I gotta
Yes.
listen to like a podcast to be inspired. I didn't get to like get my diploma, my degree. I missed all on that. Yeah. So
Well,
I feel,
congratulations. You know how
thank
hard
you.
you work. You know, when
Oh
all this is
yes,
over, you know, we'll
yes.
figure out something and do something. But yeah, so you understand.
I
You
totally
understand.
understand.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a ceremony. It's a ceremony that is really important. And what I really get from you too, reflecting everything you just shared, is that the kids have so much power, and especially now with social media and everything, they have a platform. Yes, go tell other people to vote, that it matters, because it does. We work so hard to earn it, to have the right to it. Those of you that are watching, if you're a popular dancer, you know, you have a YouTube channel, you know, use that and tell people to vote. Like really get out there and make a difference for the officials that we elect, the laws that we have, the new governors, the new police chiefs, whatever, you know, like it is important. And for me, you're probably the first person that's really cemented it, that it's important, it's powerful, and it matters. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So thank you.
It's their turn. It's their
Mm-hmm.
turn. And it's a
Mm-hmm.
lot of them.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of them.
Mm-hmm.
What, 14, 15, 16 million young people, 18-year-olds that, you know, it's their turn to go. They have an opportunity to go and vote now.
Mm-hmm.
It's their turn, and they need to be empowered to go out and do that. Because like I said, Donald Trump is 75 years old. It's a done deal. He got one foot in the grave and one foot in the banana peel. He, you know, in a few years, you know, he'll be dead. A lot of us will be really, really old. And these kids are the ones that need to take the torch. And if we don't tell them, who's going to tell them?
Mm-hmm.
If we don't empower them, who's going to empower them? You know, parents, talk to your kids. Get them out of that. Show them that take them to the polls. Show them how to vote. It's like a ritual. It's a rite of passage, just like that graduation. Walking to that poll and exercising your right to vote is just as important.
Mm.
And
Yes.
they need to know it. And that's you know, young folks is the one who put Obama in office. The hip hop kids put Obama in office. It was Darius and all of those just running to the polls then. They put him in office. And like I said, it wasn't a coincidence right now with the way they're feeling that they reached back to him for advice. They don't relate to this garbage that's going on right now. They don't relate to racism. They don't relate to division, you know, because they're on TikTok looking at people from all over the world.
Yeah, that's
You
true.
know,
I didn't think about that. Yeah.
You know, they relating to people in all kinds of countries, and coming to Hip Hop International, and coming to Body Rock, and coming to World of Dance, and seeing people seeing all kinds of people. And I can't be friends with them?
Yeah.
What do you mean I can't be friends with them? It's like like foreign to young folks. So we have to let them know which world you want. Is this the world you want where people don't get to graduate and people out in the street and sick and
Dying, getting
dying
murdered.
and all that?
Yeah.
It's your turn. So empower these young folks.
Yes. So we have a few, it's counting down on me. It's 16 seconds. So I just
Okay.
wanted to thank you so much.
You.
Thank you for sharing everything. What's the official origin where they can reach you?
ORIGINHHPAA.com. That's our website. Or call me 619